Welcome back to Momtradiction, the podcast where us three moms tackle the tough, tricky, taboo parts of parenting. I'm Lindsay, here with my amazing co-hosts, V and Julianne, and today we're diving into one of the biggest debates in parenting, breast versus bottle. The research is clear. Breastfeeding has major benefits. Breastfed babies have 36% lower risk of sudden infant death syndrome, fewer ear infections, and stronger immune system. Plus, moms who breastfeed reduce their risk of breast and ovarian cancer. And yet, while 83% of moms start off breastfeeding, only 25% are still exclusively breastfeeding by 6 months. So, why do so many moms struggle to keep it up? Is it the lack of support, bad advice, or just the reality of modern life? And when it's time to wean, how do you do it in a way that works for both mom and baby? Today, we're sharing our own journey, the struggles, the wins, the losses, and what we wish we knew earlier. Because whether you're nursing, pumping, combo feeding, formula feeding, making informed choices is the only thing that really matters. Let's start with who breastfed.
I breastfed my oldest,
Right.
who I birthed. And then I did not breastfeed the twins, obviously, because we adopted them and that wasn't an option. But if I had the option, 1,000% would have.
Yeah. I breastfed both of mine, but for different lengths of time.
What lengths of time did you do?
So for Stella, my first, I breastfed for 9 months, and then for Willow was 3 months. She was a little bit tricky because as a preemie, a NICU baby, we were told we had to give her this special formula anyways. I can't even remember what it was called now. So she was basically on formula from the time she was born, but also I pumped from the beginning, so she was also getting breast milk. But I feel like at the hospital it was they didn't really care if I was yo, I'm just I got it coming, it's coming up, and then they're no, it's time to feed, we're giving this baby what we got in here, you know what I mean? So anyways, but we'll get into that. She was difficult with breastfeeding in general.
Yeah.
So what about you, Lindsay?
My first was 9 months, and I was working full time and driving to work with the pumps on my nipples as I went.
Yeah.
Moms out there, they sell a car adapter. So if you commute to work. So it was just a really stressful time. In 9 months, it became I wasn't making enough milk. I also fed my baby my sister-in-law's milk because she had so much and we had babies at the same time. So I think that's a fun fact where I might have supplemented with formula. I was lucky to have this cow of a sister-in-law. That was I got bags in the freezer, take some.
Yeah.
And then my second was a COVID baby. So I was home and not working. And what I was surprised to see is I feel my milk sort of, lessened around the same time, which was 10 months. So I thought it was the stress of work and commuting and bottles and washing all the pump stuff that made me stop too soon with my first. But then when I was totally relaxed and at home, I sort of stopped on the same timeline. So I felt better about it because I was oh, I think my baby and my body are naturally weaning. It's how I justified it later.
How long did you breastfeed Justice for?
So I exclusively breastfed her for 8 months, and then we got the stomach bug. And what happened was she got it first. She got really sick. We had gotten evacuated because of a hurricane. I started to get sick, and then I just 48 hours was in a bad way, and I couldn't eat anything. My body just totally shut down, and so I couldn't breastfeed her anymore, and we had to start with formula, and she was livid. She was so angry. She refused the bottle for days because she was just what is this crap?
What is this garbage?
Yeah.
She had never
What's this
had that
chemical
before,
concoction?
and she was so angry. And I just remember crying because I felt so bad, my body was failing. And I babe, this is the best I can do. Is we went to the CVS or whatever and got formula. And after that, even when I recovered, my body just stopped producing the same amount that it had been producing. It was really weird. It was like this upset had happened. And
Right.
whereas I wasn't quite the cow your sister-in-law was, Lindsay, but I always had like a little extra. Like each day I had like one bottle more than I needed. So I had like a
Okay.
little bit in the freezer for trips and whatnot. But after that 8th month, my body just didn't ever make enough. And so at that point, it was about half. And so she was on half formula and half breast milk until about month 13. And then we were able to switch her over completely.
And what did you switch over to? Like milk?
Yeah.
Or you just went like food at that point?
No, the doctor said that we could switch over to regular whole milk at that point. And so we did start to incorporate some of that. But also by then, she was in daycare and her daycare was literally like giving her legitimate meals. Like they would send me pictures and she would be eating like collard greens and sliced apples and macaroni, like everything. They fed those kids anything. You know, when they're that age, if every little person around them is just eating it, they're like, oh yeah. So she wasn't a picky eater at all. She ate very, very well. So at that point, milk kind of became like a non-factor in some regards, which I was grateful for, because like I honestly would have continued to at least try to pump some, but it just shut down.
Yeah. Did you guys do a lot of research beforehand? Because for me, if you guys go back and watch the birthing story,
yeah, you know, y'all did not do any research.
Nothing. So yeah, but I have to say I was like shocked at breastfeeding of like, I feel like it was like the biggest thing of like after she came out and I'm like, all right, it's cool. I had a baby. And then it was like, what? Like I have to feed this thing, and then they put that like I had never seen a breast pump before, and they like put it on when you're in the like hospital, and you're like, what? Like your nipples are just getting like
so long.
Yeah, like what is this? Yeah. Yeah, and like the pain, like it wasn't as bad like the second time around, but like with Stella, I just remember being like, this is miserable. And then I was like so mad at Luke because like he didn't have boobs, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Know, it's like all of a sudden, like, wait a second, like I have to get up like, to keep milk production up. Like you have to be either pumping or actively feeding the baby. You can't just take time off, you know? So it was a whole like slap in the friggin'
It feels like
face.
Sort of a pyramid scheme, because it's just like
big time.
It like comes naturally, but like you gotta like use it to you lose it.
Yeah.
And so you can't just be like, oh man, like I'm just gonna take a vacation. Like you have to be pumping and shipping milk if that's the case. Like you have to keep doing it or it does. And that's why, like when my body shut down after that stomach bug, it just never got back on track, you know, because it really is it's a factory that has to keep pushing.
Well, and in the beginning, where like nothing's coming out, but they're like, oh, you know, or like maybe that little dribble of like where they're like, this is all the baby needs, this tiny little like, you know, but you're like, nothing's coming out, and I'm still just like doing this,
pumping away.
I don't know. I was like blown away by that experience.
And maybe we save this for another episode, but then the dads that are like constantly like, I think she's hungry. I think she's hungry. Mother effer. Just dance around a little bit. She just ate. Like,
yeah.
Do not have an unlimited supply. Yeah.
Were you
oh my gosh.
planning to breastfeed Lindsay like the whole time? Or were you like, well, let's just see what happens here too, like when she comes out?
Well, true to all my mothering experiences, like I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. I guess I assumed yes, because that's the natural path. So like the path of least resistance, I'm like, yeah, I'm also cheap. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to buy formula. But I will say what changed for me is when I had the emergency C-section.
Yes.
Like I read enough to be like, going through the birth canal is really good for the baby for a lot of different things. And my baby did not go through the birth canal. So like, other things that can be cured or helped are through breastfeeding. So like then I became really like I was really thrown off by like, God, now I had a C-section and then I can't do formula because then it's just like an artificial baby.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I got really determined to be like, well, this is what like this is what I can do as like my motherly duty. And then I just think as a new mom, like I remember vividly, like not really knowing that formula, this is ridiculous because if someone had made, like if Kevin had gone to the store and just bought formula and been like, hey, I got this just in case, I think I would have cracked way sooner. Because also my first was like a skinny little baby. My second was a tubby turtle. So I'm like that skinny, I would have been like, yeah, let me get some formula. But once you're in it, you just, I feel like I just forgot that there was an alternative. And then I was so in the thick of trying to get like to the next bottle and the next feeding. You know, you're on such a schedule. And those first 2 weeks, you feel like a rabid wolf has gnawed on your nipples.
Yes.
So there's nothing like, it's like, I think again, with more experience, I might have been like, oh, this is too much. Let me go get some formula. But I just was like, I can't believe.
Hunger, like I was hungrier breastfeeding than I ever was pregnant. Like I just feel like, I don't know.
The energy. Well, no surprise there.
I remember being particularly hungry, but I mean, then again, I'm like always hungry. It's like kind of an issue. So
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I remember being like, I can eat whatever I want because I'm breastfeeding.
That was how I was. I was like, cookies, I'll take 2.
Yeah, and then I started eating those lactate cookies. Did you guys go into those gimmicks of like the lactose products?
Somebody had gotten them for me for the baby shower, so I was like, don't mind if I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not even good, but they're still cookies, so I'll eat that.
Yeah. Yes.
A cookie is a cookie.
Yeah. So do you guys both, I was almost like hoping someone would be passionate about like fed is best versus.
I actually am. So I'll get on that like soapbox for a second. So here's the deal. Y'all know that I went to the birthing center. We had an unmedicated childbirth experience. I was all about like, let my body do what my body can do. And I still am a very firm believer in that. At the same time, there are so many women who their bodies don't do the thing that they expect their body to do, right? Like, and it that can be a time that is filled with a lot of sorrow and shame. And like, I want women to know you don't have to feel that way because there are many options. And then on the other side, there are babies that just don't latch, like they have a super hard time. They're colicky or they have something else going on that's just making that attachment really difficult for them. And that is heart-wrenching. And so I just, yes, there are so many benefits to breast milk, and you know, that from the antibodies that help with, you know, illness for the kid. It's so crazy that breast milk changes as your kid grows. Like there's all these really magical and amazing.
And when they get sick, it's like a totally different color because it pumps in different vitamins.
Like you can tell, like, oh, my baby must be going through something because the milk this week is, you know, it's a different shade. It's easier to digest for them. It burns calories for the moms who want cookies. You know, it lowers the health risk, as we were saying earlier. And of course, it helps with bonding, which to me was one of the hugest, like foremost benefits, just to be able to like look in my kids' eyes right then. But what I've also experienced with the twins is, man, if you're feeding a kid, you're feeding a kid, and they know you're their mama. And so, you know, when I'm feeding them and I'm looking down at them, they lock eyes with me. And like, I think that we're bonding just as much, you know? And so I would just say, especially for moms who've had a hard time with it, or the baby's not, or you've got to go back to work. Like, hello, we live in this country that does not pay for moms to have very much time off unless you work for a really generous, you know, company or organization. A lot of times you have a short period, like a short window to return. So like you got to wrap that up. So I would say there are so many options. They have the goat's milk formula now. They have a lot of like really advanced formulas, and they don't do exactly they don't prevent the same things and do the exact same thing, right, as formula, or I'm sorry, as breast milk, but they get really, really close. And so just really wanted to put that out there. Fed obviously is best, and like the baby's gonna be all right. Like if you're not able to do it for a long period of time, it's gonna be all right. But what I would say, and I'm interested in hearing y'all's experiences here, there are a lot of factors outside of work or mom's body or baby's, latching or ability that contribute to women stopping early or not breastfeeding at all. Did you all have any experiences or things that you felt like were kind of like feeding into you stopping outside of that?
So with Stella, at 9 months, it was really like a natural like progression. Like I don't feel like I had to wean her. Like we had just slowly gone down in feedings and it just seemed like, okay, we're good. With Willow being a like NICU baby and having to have that like special formula. So when she was born, I went to like cow mode where I was like, okay, this is a bad situation. I'm just gonna like make so much milk that like I fix her, I guess, you know what I mean? And so that was all well and good. And then once we got home, a couple months into it, it just got to the point where it would be like I had to like I'd wake up in the middle of the night, breastfeed her, but then she'd also have to have this bottle of I can't remember what it was. I should have like prepared. So I'd have to then like feed her the bottle, or I think I'd had to feed her the bottle first and then I'd give her the breast milk, but then because she wasn't on my boobs long enough, I would then also have to pump
Mm,
to like keep
Oh,
up my
yeah.
supply. So it just became like a
it was a job.
miserable, it was a job like beyond. And I'm crying. It just was, so then I remember we slowly like went down to like then I would just feed her at night like once before bed. And then I remember, so she was born the end of September. I remember it was like Christmas, and I was just like, I think we're done here. Like, I don't even know if anything's like coming out anymore. I think at that point it was more just the bonding or whatever. But and then we went to formula, and you know, she turned out fine. I'm a big believer in do whatever works for
Yeah.
you. I don't give a shit. If you breastfeed your baby, that's great. If you bottle feed, I mean, if you're giving them soda in a bottle, I don't condone that, but like, who am I
Long as
to,
it's
you know
not
what I mean?
cocaine.
Like, yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't want to judge anybody's situation or
Yeah.
choices. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you're doing what you think is the best, then
Yep.
let it be the
I
best,
also,
I
but
guess.
I have to just say
Yeah.
a little bit though that I'm like, the breast is best. And
Yeah.
like, I think
Yeah.
moms, like so much of motherhood is uncomfortable and like scary and inconvenient, pretty much all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, that's all like, I also just want to be there to like push moms to be like, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Like it's painful. It's inconvenient. It's so many things. But I'm like, when I think back to it right now, I mean, now I'm like 4 years out, 3 years out from it, but it's like, so again, so much of motherhood is the contradiction. So it's like the worst thing is also the best thing. Like I'll
Yeah.
never breastfeed again.
Yeah.
And it was like god awful. But then those moments where you do it successfully, it's like you feel like you are stepping into like all parts of your womanhood that are like
Yeah.
superhero,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it sucks to be a woman. Like we get menstrual cycle every month. Like you just like since we were 12 years old, like there's so many things about being a woman that's hard. And then I feel like, and maybe this comes from like I was a little bit like robbed from my like hot tub natural birth like for Nina, but you know what I mean? But then I'm like, I just feel like it's like one of the most like mother. So I just
Yeah.
like, that's all I want to say to everyone is I'm like, try it. And it's
Totally.
suck. Try it for 2 weeks because like your nipples will heal. It'll take about 14 days
They
Yeah.
have
and you'll go
1,000
through like,
nipple creams.
yeah, they'll
Try
get,
any of them.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
try
Yes.
them all. None of them actually work, but you need 2
Yeah.
solid weeks and they just like fix themselves
Yeah.
somehow. And then after that, I totally agree. I'm like, look, life's too short. You got to do what you got to do. But
Yeah.
I do
Right.
feel like sometimes we don't want to message too much. Not that our opinion matters, but we don't want to message too much that it's like, don't worry, whatever. Because it's like, no, the breast is
Yeah.
most
It
important, like
actually is really
so
good for
valuable.
them.
It is really good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Yes.
is the
Yes.
best, but
Yeah.
also like everything else is fine. So like,
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't let, what's that saying? Like, don't let good be the enemy of great. Like, you can have great, but good is also still good. It's not like a zero sum game here. And I think
Yeah.
like one thing that that I want women to hear and know is if there's like societal pressure, right, to stop breastfeeding, like don't give in to that. I remember this one time, a group of friends, we got invited by one of the women in our group to hang out at this resort that she like worked at. And she got us this like beach cabana, and everyone knew I had just had a baby like a few months before, and everybody's like, "Oh, bring the baby. We want to see the baby. It'll be fun." So this is like baby's first beach outing, and I went to breastfeed her like there on the like at this beach cabana, and there's like cabana boys, whatever, serving us things. And she was like, "Don't you think you want to go in the locker room with that?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she was like, "It's just, don't you think it would be more appropriate to go into the locker room and feed your baby?"
Oh, that's so funny.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"No." And then it just got super awkward, and I just like got up with Justice, and I stepped again into the locker room, which this is like a 5-star resort, so it wasn't like she was sending me into like
Like
a
go in
gas
the,
station
like,
bathroom
the closet.
here.
Yeah.
But it was still just like the principle, because I had like, we were on the beach, so like from the cabana where we were, I had to like walk through the pool, through this big promenade, through to get to the area that she was suggesting. And it was like, my baby's hungry right now. And so as a mom, it feels like such an inconvenience to like put your boob away because it's making someone uncomfortable, and to travel like what felt like miles in the hot Charleston sun with a baby who is like still hungry, to like
Right.
make her not feel embarrassed by me pulling my boob out. I just like, even that is enough. That experience is enough to turn some women off breastfeeding.
Right.
Just like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
embarrassed my friends. We were at this thing. Like, I just want to get back to like
Gosh.
living this fancy life." And like, I chose to actually get turned off of her as a friend.
Yeah.
Instead of me turning off breastfeeding, I was like, maybe we're not for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Now, and she was not a mom,
no,
right?
she was not a mom.
Is she now?
Okay.
I mean, again, I got turned off of her, so I
Oh,
did
yeah,
not
yeah.
know. But I have not
Right.
heard through the grapevine that she is.
But I would love to know
Okay.
if she was like breastfeeding in public. Like, oh, because that's another thing women do is I'm like, man, you think like I'm never going to feed my kid out of those applesauce pouches, and then they like live on
That's
them.
all my kids
My
eat.
kid's
Yeah.
my kid's never going to watch my phone. And it's like, no, they will.
Yeah.
Definitely will.
That's so bizarre to me. I don't know. For some reason, it just has never.
Especially
I'm
a
like,
beach.
who cares?
Yeah.
Like boob out. It's not like you're like, hey y'all,
Exactly.
like, want to squirt?
Yeah, it's
you
like,
know?
mind
like,
your
it's
business.
Like, yeah, like it's like tasteful. You know,
Yeah.
like.
And now, granted, I wasn't, if I'm recalling correctly, I wasn't using like one of those covers because they're hot. And we were literally outside, and we're on the beach where people have their boobs out for sport. So I just didn't really think it was that big of a deal to like slide it out, But she took issue with it, and she felt embarrassed by it. And I think that kind of stuff happens literally all the time to women. And women feel like, well, I can't live my life and do this. But I would just say push back on that, because it's really not your problem. Like, boobs in this country are over sexualized anyways. They are tools to feed your baby. Like, in so many countries, women just have their boobs out because they're tools to feed your baby. They're not sexualized like they are here. So I would say, don't let society be one of those pressures. If you can't do it, or your baby isn't latching, that's another story, but don't let people push you out of what you want to do.
And that's another. So one thing I highly recommend is like at the hospital, did you guys have like a lactation nurse? I guess they were called a nurse that would come by each day and kind of check on you.
Well, we went home with our baby like in the middle of the night because.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But what they do is they set you up an appointment to go see a consultant, like maybe the next day or the day after the birth. And so we did. And again, we were just very grateful. Like, Justice had no problem latching. Like, that kid got on there, and I remember
just like her mama.
The doctor, I know, like mama, the doctor was like, "Oh, she's so efficient. I don't think I've seen a baby quite this efficient at the breast." And I was like, well, efficiency is my middle name, baby. I'm going to tell her to put that on her resume. So we were lucky. we're really blessed.
Those lactation people are crucial, because I was like killing it at the hospital, just like, man, this is so easy, so great with this like little tiny newborn. And the lady was like, yeah, but still take this number home with you, because like things could change, the baby grows, different position. Like she just was so like, yep, you're great, but take this card with you. And like, sure enough, it was like the first day home. It was like, why can't I get her to latch anymore? And it was like so awesome to have that number. And like, this was a lady where you could just like go to her house and she had a scale. So you were just like on her couch. Like it was all very comfortable. So like, I'm sure they're not all created equal, but I recommend, like, I'm not a person that accepts or seeks help, like for anything. I don't know, besides like Google. And so I like highly recommend 2 thumbs up. If you're serious about breastfeeding, I'm like, you got to let an expert weigh in on it, because it was so helpful. And then she also like had a scale. So you would like do the latch or whatever and just go for like one boob and then weigh the baby. Mm-hmm. And she'd be like, and so I'd be like, see, I don't think anything's coming out, like the stress of a new mom. And then she'd put the baby on the scale and be like, no, she just had
3 ounces,
5 ounces. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay. So I think those things are really like, I guess that's my advice. If you're going to breastfeed, you got to like build yourself some support, because it is not as natural as it is. It's also the most unnatural thing in the world. So
I also think so. When Stella was a baby, we bought a scale, so I would like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And that was just over the top. Like I feel like afterwards, it's like, you don't need to do that. You know what I mean? I think also have a little bit of, yes, go to a professional, and I think it can be helpful, but also don't make yourself crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
After every feeding.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's cool. Like even now, Luke and I will joke of just like, what was that?
Yeah.
What was
that? Like,
well, and
what
they
were
like
we doing?
lose weight in the first couple of weeks and then start gaining it back.
Yes.
And so you could stress yourself out unnecessarily in that time period.
Yeah, which I think, anything you can do to reduce stress is, good.
Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah. So do you guys feel, well, I don't know, is this weird to talk about, of like, did your boobs change at all from breastfeeding? Like,
not forever. They definitely changed in that time period. And honestly, I didn't have a lot of, it wasn't as painful to me as it sounds like it was for you guys. I just, like I said, like Justice didn't really mess around at the breast. She just like got in, got off. Like she did what she needed to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I had more pain or swelling than I did in my pregnancy. Like, you know how when you get pregnant and your boobs start hurting? They just felt like that for 9 months. So when I breastfed, they just felt the same. Like I don't feel like for me it was like, oh, like now that I'm breastfeeding, it's so much more. It was like, well, here we are. Still the boobs are doing what they do when a baby comes out of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of expected that too from our birthing classes, that this is just going to be like the next phase of this. Like one of the things that we talked about was like your 4th trimester and your 5th trimester. Somebody talks about that. It's not like you have the baby and it's over. You're just like actually in another trimester at that point, that your body is like reversing all the stuff that it just did. Plus it's like ramping up this new feeding machine part. So I guess I just never like broke it out. Like I didn't break breastfeeding out from my pregnancy. And maybe mentally that helped with me not feeling like I'm in this new pain from feeding the baby.
Yeah. And I feel like my boobs didn't change. Like I lost 50 pounds this year, and they changed way more from that than breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So,
did yours change?
I don't know. I feel like they're like saggier now.
I mean,
than like, but that might just be age,
gravity,
weight gain, weight loss. You know what I mean? I can't exactly say.
You can't scientifically, empirically say that it was the babies.
Right.
Yeah, so that's fair.
So then you get to the point where you're like, okay, the breastfeeding has become second nature, but they're starting to eat. Did you guys, I think everybody waits for like the 6 months.
And I think a lot of like, okay, we're not doctors. Let's asterisk that for this
Yes,
episode. We're not
please,
doctors.
please.
I do think a
No,
lot of
yeah.
doctors advise waiting until like 9 or 10 months even to start giving your baby solid food. But
Okay.
then there's people on the other side that say when your baby shows interest. So it's really like my nephew's like, he's like 6, 7 months old now. And he is like, hey, I would like some of that rice, please. Like I want beans.
Mhm.
Can you throw
Mhm.
all that in the Vitamix and hook me up? Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
he has been like that early, very early. And so I think that's fine if you are, again, throwing it in the Vitamix and they can have it, but some babies
So
don't
what'd
have an
you do?
interest. Like 7, he doesn't really, like they're on whole milk now, but 7 does
Okay.
not have a lot of interest in table food outside of like
Hmm.
he'll have a lot of baby food. And
Mhm.
Ocean, she wants whatever we're eating. Like as soon as I
Mhm.
get my plate, she's like, some. And
Mhm.
7, he'll like look at me and sometimes he'll open his mouth, but 9 times out of 10, whatever I put in there, he just spits out. Matter of fact, I almost had to throw the baby this morning. I was eating eggs,
Mhm.
and 7 jumped up on me, well, crawls on me, and opens his mouth. I put a spoon of eggs in there. He has it in there for like 10 seconds, and then he spits it out and throws it down. And I was like, bro, that's a
Mm-mm.
delicacy, okay? You might not
Yeah.
understand, but it's
Yeah.
2025 and you basically spit out a handful of caviar, so you need to
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
together.
Yo, I made deviled eggs the other day when Luke got home from work, and he was like, "Who do you think we are?"
Are we
Like, yeah, like
$10 a dozen?
I just like couldn't help myself. It was like a weird thing where I was like, "I'm gonna make deviled eggs," and like put them on this
like, ooh, look
platter,
at
and like
me.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, big time,
But
yeah.
no, so he's like, it's so interesting because Ocean is eating almost everything. And 7 is still like, I'll just take the baby food. Like, if you can puree that for me, that'd be great. And milk. He drinks milk out of the
Yeah.
bottle still. If I give him a sippy cup, he's not interested yet. Whereas Ocean is like,
How
whatever
funny.
you got, throw it in this sippy cup. And also, I would
Yeah.
like a turkey sandwich. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're exactly the same age. So it's so, I just think every baby is different. And I think it's okay to just yield to whatever is happening with them naturally. Their teeth are
Totally.
coming in at a different rate too, I noticed. So Ocean actually has a couple of more teeth than 7, and I think she's just really curious about what she can do with them.
Yeah, I think that's good advice though of just like don't stress about it. They're gonna eat.
Yes.
They're gonna, you know what I mean? I mean, if there's a problem, then there's a problem, but like they're gonna eat, they're gonna drink, they're gonna get teeth, they're gonna, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're gonna do all the things. So, don't force it if you can. And like I remember getting into like real food is like a pain in the butt. Now it's like, well, now I have another like I have to
And it's so
make you
messy.
food. I have to like think about having food for you if we go someplace. Like it's so messy.
Hey, I did both because firstborn, I did very like baby jars, tons of them, like baby food, little spoonfuls, airplane, like just forever stayed in that
Yeah.
like pureed baby because I think I just didn't, just like everything I talk about, I'm like, I didn't know what else to do. I just like, once we weaned off of the milk and we were just doing milk like before bed, everything else was just like baby food, straight up baby food. And then with my second, I think her just being a second kid, I'm like, I don't think we ate any baby food. Like maybe a little, but I'm like, she just started to do, avocados. So like that baby led weaning, it was like she just picked off our plate because I think she had that big sister she was watching. And
Yeah.
but same thing where it's like, I think it's way, and like we talked about with breast first bottle, I'm like, there's all these health benefits, right, of breast milk. So it's like, do that if you can. But I'm like, I don't know about this food thing. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did our pediatrician recommended so baby led weaning where like you think of it as like breastfeeding or whatever, but it's you just give your baby pieces of food. You never do like purees. And so we did that with Stella and then we did it with Willow. So she just always ate what we ate, or like I would make eggs
Yeah.
or, just whatever. So we never did baby food, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't think it made a difference. I mean, they're both good eaters. They don't have allergies, but
Yeah.
who knows? Who can say that if we went another route that it wouldn't be the same, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, it was easy though, a little bit, because you're like, okay, like here, have some of this. This is what we're eating. But I remember with Stella, like you're like, can I give this baby this? Like
Yeah.
she's just gonna eat this, but like it's more like learning to eat than like actually
Yeah.
eating. But and then are you guys weird? And even now, like I have some mom friends that like won't give their like three-year-olds like popcorn and grapes. Are you guys like grape cutters or like popcorn like people?
Are you
I'm
guys grape
curious.
cutters?
I am a grape cutter, but also I'm really
Okay.
terrible.
No, wait. The twins though,
Yeah,
they're
for the
little.
twins.
Yes,
Yeah, not for
yes,
Justice.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Well, no, but also you said like 3 or 4. The twins are like 1,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, duh,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were talking about like, oh, I still don't let them have popcorn. And I'm like, oh no. Like every Friday night, like
Yeah.
we're eating popcorn.
When they're
But
wait,
I mean,
what age are you? Listen, 3,
she's
you're
3.
supposed to not let them have popcorn still.
I don't know. This is like what I've been like. I give them popcorn, but like these other moms were saying like, oh, we don't let them have popcorn. And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
need to
dang,
ask
are
the
you not
doctor about
supposed to let
that
them
one.
have popcorn? You know, I don't
know
know.
Well,
they're
that's just
not
for
when they're
choking,
really
right?
little,
Yeah.
but like tonight I had popcorn and they attacked me. And so I just
Yeah.
got like the ones that looked the fluffiest and like handed them a couple and they were very, very happy
Yeah.
with it. So I just was like,
Right.
it's not like I'm giving them a bowl of this and letting them go on their own. Yeah, like I'm giving
Unsupervised.
them like
Right.
one
Like, here
that
you
I
go.
expect and also like I'm prepared
Yeah.
to do the Heimlich. So,
Right.
but I'm
Have you guys had any scary choking? Did you have any scary choke stories?
no.
No, me either. But I do remember
Yeah.
the like little gags here and there,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Oh gosh. Or like I have one friend that has that machine that like you can put on them and it like sucks
oh
food
yeah,
out. I can't think of what it's called.
I know what you're talking about. It
Yeah, and
pops.
I thought it was so ridiculous. But like also, I mean, if
I
it
was gonna
saves
say
your
it's
baby's
probably
life,
saving
then
lives.
like
I've never heard of
it's
this.
definitely not. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't even think of what it's called, but something it like will suck it out of their throat almost or pop
So I
it out
guess
or
you just
whatever, you
keep
know what I'm
this in your
saying?
kitchen drawer or like
Like a fire extinguisher, you
yeah.
know, like just in
First,
case. Yeah.
take it in your purse. You never leave home without it. Just
It
kidding.
sounds like you
Oh
need
my
more than one
gosh.
of them if you're gonna really
Yeah.
commit to this.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to, maybe I'll do more research and we'll, let you know about that.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Well, do we want to talk about nails and fails?
Nails
Yep.
and fails.
Yeah. Okay.
Who's got the best nail this week?
I got a good one.
Go for it.
Let's hear it.
So we've been really into like air dry clay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Stella has made this lion we made.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
And then Willow and I made this dinosaur. I don't know if you could see.
That's a lovely dinosaur.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have messed around with it. It's really like fun. It's a really strange texture. But I find it a lot easier to like build and make stuff than like a Play-Doh. And then it does dry hard. So then you have a little creature or a little whatever.
Or an ashtray if you take it back to the early 90s.
Yes.
That's what I did with my clay.
A little roach shoulder.
Oh Lord. So anyways,
We had a e-learning day this week because of wind. So the school closed and they said chance of heavy winds and possible tornadoes. That did not happen, but we had a successful day of e-learning. So I'll take
nice.
that as my win this week. What about you, Lindsay?
That's nice.
Like I've definitely got a little like stomach bug or something. So I've been taking baths at night and like, you get like chills. So I've been taking these hot baths and I'm like this is going to make me feel like Epsom salt in a hot bath.
Oh yeah. That's a nail.
Yeah.
That's
I've done it
awesome.
like 2 nights in a row and I'm like, it really takes the edge off of like the yucky germ feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
And then my fail would be that like I'm just barely making it to work because I'm like I just don't feel good. I feel like
I'm sorry.
a little fevery and a little, but I'm like also we have not gotten the flu. We haven't like knock on wood. I'm like I'll take it because next week our spring schedule, as you guys know about my schedule, kicks off. What are you guys failing? Tell me about your beautiful fails.
Oh, man. Y'all, this week, I have been so tired by the time I put Justice in bed this week that I have not like tidied up the kitchen at night. So every morning I wake up and I'm like, who closed last night? Oh my gosh. But it was me. It was me. I closed. And like, then I have to like start the day with the cleaning from yesterday, which is a terrible practice, but I just haven't like managed to catch up on it this week. So, you know, week's almost done. Maybe I can do a double header on Saturday and then like catch up. But
honestly, I need to get a pedicure so bad. It's like, and I keep putting it off, and it's like we've had some like 70-degree days where I'm like, I can't wear boots, and like I guess like
I was just say though, I'm like, isn't it premature for like you're not showing toes?
We've had quite a few days of where I'm like, well, I would love to wear like my flops, but like not with these feet. Like they're bad. I was gonna go with my mom yesterday, and then I don't know, we just didn't, and I'm like, I need to have it.
Jules, you gotta go tomorrow. Tomorrow, and let me tell you, last week I got one, and I tried the paraffin wax for the first time.
Oh yes.
Why did y'all not tell me?
Wax? Oh yeah, that shit is like gold.
Oh my God.
You slip your feet in. Oh yeah.
Your feet are silk
the paraffin wax.
Like Justin touched my feet. He was like, oh my God, they're slippery.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this ever.
Get it the next go, Lindsay. Just like for once, just do the upgrade, because I know you never do the upgrade because you're cheap like me.
I don't ever get a pedicure.
Okay, we'll start and then do the upgrade and get the paraffin wax. It is like life changing. I'm not gonna lie.
That's hilarious. Do they do it on your hands too?
I think you can get it on your hands.
Maybe. I would assume.
I've never had my hands.
I feel like my hands are starting to like show my age, where I'm like,
oh yeah.
I've gotten good about like putting lotion on them every day, which I'm not the type to like do any skincare, but I'm like, my hands are looking a little wrinkly and age spots.
Oh yeah.
Well, do your self-care, mamas. Take care of yourself. And if you like this vibe, hit subscribe.
Hit subscribe.
Thanks for coming.
Here we go. Thanks. Bye.